Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Aimee here. Today we're going to talk about all the books I read in the month of August. In July, I read more 4- and 5-star thrillers. The thrillers were not quite there for me, but we are going to start off with a 5-star read that I absolutely love. I love this whole series and I can't wait for the next book. Like, it's killing me. I'm not sure how she's going to do these books. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so I started the month off with Little Bird Lost. This is by Jessie Walker. This is part of the Lost Boys series. I actually wasn't planning on reading this because I didn't think it was part of the series, and it was or it is a male female romance, sort of romance. I don't even know if you want to call this a romance. This is very deep and very dark. I would definitely go to Jessie Walker's website and just check out the trigger warnings for all of these books because they deal with a lot of issues: drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide, child abuse, basically, rape, all sorts of triggers there. So definitely go to her website and check it out. Now, I am not a big fan of rape in a book, and I hate to say, and I hate these words that are about to come out my mouth because it just doesn't seem right, but this was done really well. It was done really well where I could actually read through the book. I didn't really have to skip anything. I don't want to it's gonna be so hard to talk about this book because I don't want to give too much away. We do know, if you've read any of the Lost Boys, especially Will and Waylon's story, what happened to Izzy. So this is Izzy's story, basically. It's mostly her point of view. We also have some other characters that she meets when whatever happens to her happens. So you'll kind of fall in love with these characters. I'm not gonna lie, I know I did. And you would seem like you wouldn't want to fall in love with these characters because they're not that great of characters, but I fell in love with them. So we do have other twins in this book, and then another male. So like I said, male, female love story. If you want to call it a love story, I honestly don't know, but I hope we get more from this because I guess it kind of leaves you hanging. But then I don't know if we're going to get more of this in the part 2 of Jeremy and Mason's story. I don't know if Jessie Walker's going to put those two stories together, Izzy's story as well as Jeremy and Mason's. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm hoping we get like 2 separate books because I want to know more of like Izzy's side after Little Bird Lost, and I definitely want to know more of Mason and Jeremy's side of the story. I think that's all I'm going to talk about with this book because I don't want to give too much away. I gave this 5 stars if you didn't know already. Alright, next up I picked up Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. Not my favorite Riley Sager, but 4-star worthy. I really had a good time with this. It was very entertaining. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook is fantastic. I honestly didn't want to put it down. There were parts in there that I got not bored, but I felt like it was just too much maybe, but still entertaining enough to like keep me interested and keep me focused and keep me going. In 1994 we have 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend Billy. They camp out in Ethan's backyard one night, and when Ethan wakes up in the morning, Billy is missing and there's like a slit in the tent. Jump 30 years later, we have Ethan coming back to his hometown and Ethan is still missing. So there's still like this ghostly presence of Ethan. And we kind of get like these weird things happening, weird, ghostly, suspicious things that just really intrigued me and kind of kept me listening. And we do go back and forth in the timeline. So we're going to go back to 1994, leading up to what really happened to Billy. And then we're also going to follow Ethan 30 years later as things from the past are starting to come back up and starting to feel like there's more to the story, and he wants to get down to the nitty-gritty of it. And that's basically what our story is about. So we have the two timelines kind of clashing into each other and leading us to the ending events. There is a lot of characters in this book. There's a lot going on. So I think that's why I was just kind of all over the place with this book. Like, I kept trying to be like, wait, what is happening? Who's talking now? And like I said, there's a little bit of maybe some ghostly paranormal things happening here that I really enjoyed. It was a good time. It was a good time, a solid 4-star. Then I picked up Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. Not my favorite Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney hasn't really let me down yet. I gave this a 3.5 star. It is read worthy. I do, like, if you're an Alice Feeney fan and you haven't read this yet, I do recommend you read it. It is very entertaining, but I got a little bored at times, and I really didn't know where we were going. It was a very complex story. It starts off where a baby goes missing in the beginning. And then we jump 20 years later where we're following the point of view from like 3 different women. And the entire time you're just kind of like, okay, what's the point of all this? Who are all these women? How are they related? There is a mother-daughter trope complexity here that really made the book for me. Once we get to the end, I advise to pay very close attention because there's a lot going on in there. You might want to take some notes. But yeah, it's very complex. There's mother-daughter complexity issues in here. It's a very short read. I did listen to this on audiobook. The narration is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, there was still some times where I was just like, okay, who are these people? Why are we getting their point of views? And then sometimes I just got a little bit too bored with what was happening, especially like in the beginning. So this would probably be a very slow start to the events that start to take place. But all in all, I definitely recommend reading it. There is a little line in here that I marked just because at the time I was just feeling that this really meant a lot to me. Because books kind of got me through my hard time in July. Even though I read this in August, I really dove into books because I just needed to get into someone else's story. It says, a good book can be a light in the darkness. A good book can cure loneliness, change minds, and even change the world. A good book is nothing less than magic. And I was just like, yes, perfect. One of my most anticipated reads for this year was AJ Finn's new book, End of Story. He wrote The Woman in the Window. I know there's a lot of issues with, that he copied off of another author with that book, but I really like that book. And I read the So Said book that he copied off of. Yes, there are similarities, but it's different. And I actually really enjoyed his story better than that story. Anyway, it was a really great read for me. I absolutely loved it. It was one of my all-time favorite reads. And then we have this story. Like, what the heck did I just read? That's what I felt like at the end of this. Why did I keep going? I don't know. Because I felt like what is happening? I mean, he gave us a fantastic book and now this? I gave it 1 star just because I made it through. So we're going back to 1999, New Year's Eve. And we have a mother and a son that go missing. Sebastian Trapp, he is like some sort of famous, I have a hair somewhere, sorry. Fiction writer. He writes a lot of like mystery thriller type of books, more like detective type of books. His wife and son go missing on that New Year's Eve night at his home where he's throwing a party. Jump 20 years later, Sebastian lives in that same home with his new wife and his daughter. I think the daughter is from his first marriage. And they all live in the same house where his first wife and son went missing. And Sebastian is also dying. So he wants to tell his story. So in comes Nikki. What is her last name? Did I write it down? Nikki Hunter. She is also a detective fiction writer. And there's a little backstory there with her, and Sebastian is like the reason why he asked Nikki to come in and tell his story. And that's basically it. Like, the rest of whatever was happening in here was just very much all over the place, and I got really bored most of the time. Like, the story wasn't going anywhere. It had great potential, but it just was not going anywhere. Why did I keep going? I don't know. I think it's because I was hoping that there was gonna be something more that was gonna just grasp me and like get me really into the story, but there never really was until kind of the very end. I am glad I made it to the end, but I did write down in my notes that I said I'm glad this is over, because it just felt like just a bunch of mumbo jumbo in between everything, and I felt like it could have been great, but it just really wasn't. But there is a nice little twist when we get to the end. So it's really, Nikki is writing Sebastian's story and in hopes that maybe she'll get information and we'll learn what happened on that New Year's Eve night in 1999. So that's kind of the whole idea of the story, where that's why I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. I think this has great potential. In 1999, New Year's Eve, yes. But no, it just was, it went nowhere. And the writing style was just weird. I don't know. I was very disappointed. Very disappointed, but I will say that the sort of little twist that we get at the end was kind of worth getting through the book, I guess. Next, we have Lucy Foley's The Midnight Feast. I gave this 2 stars because there's a part that I absolutely did not see coming. Like, it was a big like, oh, really? So I did bump it up to 2.5 stars because of that ending. Now, the story was interesting in its own little way. I did get very bored though. So we're following like Bella, who is staying at this hotel called The Manor. It's a brand new hotel that's opening up. She's gonna be there for opening night, and they're supposed to have like a solstice night or something like that. And then we're also following Eddie. I actually really enjoyed Eddie's character. He's like a young man, about 19 years old. He works at the hotel. His story's really interesting. And then we're also following like the events after the solstice, the night of the solstice happens. We're following a detective where of course a dead body was found. So we're going back to opening night and getting all Bella's point of view, Eddie's point of view. We also get Owen's point of view, which Owen is the owner of the hotel's husband. Francine, I think, is our hotel owner. I'm pretty sure we get some information from her as Francesca, yes. We get a point of view from her. We also get some journal entries from a character that we don't really know who it is until like, well, I had my suspicions and I was correct. I kind of knew who it was. You kind of know who it is when you first start reading the entries and you get to know the other characters' point of views. You kind of pretty much figure out who the journal entries are from. So we do get that, and I did like that. I always love like a kind of a book in a book kind of thing, you know, or a podcast in a book kind of thing. So I really enjoyed the journal entries from when this person was younger, leading up to the events of the manor and opening night and what this character has to do with that. But there's also this like backstory weird thing with birds, and to me that just kind of felt unnecessary. Like, why and what exactly is the Midnight Feast? Was never really truly explained, except for maybe in the journal entries, we get a little bit of what it could mean, but it could mean different things. That's what I got from it anyway. I was just like, I don't know about this whole thing. It just didn't feel like a Lucy Foley story, you know? Other than the bird part, maybe. But I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. But like I said, I bumped it up to that 2.5 because that one twist at the end was like, okay, Lucy, I like it. Next, I picked up a male romance. This is The Step Bet by Riley Hart and Devin McCormick. This was such a cute and fun and easy read. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This is about Troy and Atlas, who are stepbrothers. Troy is openly gay and Atlas is identified as straight, but he's always been like just fascinated with Troy and just like how smart he is, and he's just fascinated with him. I don't know, there's a fascination there, but that fascination led to a lot of teasing as they were growing up kind of thing. So they sort of had this like bickering going on. It's not a hate to love kind of thing. It's just more of a bickering, aggravating, your aggravating stepbrother kind of thing. Atlas was also very protective over Troy. So they both went to the same college. I believe Troy was in a fraternity and Atlas wasn't really, but he would go to like some of the fraternity parties and something would happen and, you know, he'd get in a fight with somebody and they'd have to throw him out. So it was almost like he was made out to be a troublemaker, but he really wasn't. He was really just protecting Troy from like these horrible people. So I just really liked their relationship as far as stepbrothers go. Like the whole teasing with Atlas to Troy, and I like that they were not enemies, because we get so many of these stepbrother tropes where they are enemies and they hate each other, which, you know, for the fans is one of my favorite, where they are very much enemies, but sometimes it's just a breath of fresh air when the characters do not hate each other, you know. And I really enjoyed the story behind Troy and Atlas's love story, or their love journey to love, from stepbros to lovers kind of thing. They both have, of course, we have Troy's mom and Atlas's dad who are married, but there's backstory to that. So that's what really, I mean, it really made the story interesting. It wasn't just how the two stepbrothers became lovers. It's about like them supporting each other and what they're going through with their parents' relationship kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that part of the story, as well as the spiciness that we have between our two characters. And of course, since Atlas identifies as straight, we have like a bi awakening, which I always love. I also listened to, this is Of Sunlight and Stardust. This is by Riley Hart and Christina Lee. Another very like easy, just lighthearted little read. So in this book we have Tanner, where he lost his wife, and he is buying her dream home and fixing it up for her, but it is truly a big fixer-upper, and he's not much of a fixer-upper. He's like an English teacher. And then we have Cole, who is just getting out of prison and looking for work. And he's not, you know, he's not a bad person. The reason he was in prison was sort of like just he was there, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But they started to meet in the beginning when they're both at like the hardware store, where Cole is looking for a job and Tanner's like, hey, I need help fixing up my home. I'll hire you and you can stay like in the barn. The barn is like the main part of the story. So the barn was destroyed in a fire years ago, and when Cole goes to, you know, get in there and start to fix things up, he finds a journal from a young male couple back in like, I don't know, does it say? 1948. 1948, we have Tom and Charlie. Sorry, I had to look at my notes. It's been a little while, but Tom and Charlie were in love in 1948, and as you can imagine, in 1948, that was not allowed. So it's really loving when we get to read these journal entries that Tom is writing about the love of his life and what they have to do and what they went through as a gay couple back in 1948. And it was just very heartfelt, and I loved that part of the story, and it sort of brought Tanner and Cole closer together. So yeah, it was just a really sweet story. And then of course we have like Cole's background, and there's some little trouble with that, but it's not too much of a who, you know. It's just kind of there. It had to happen. It had to be there. You know, he's just got out of prison. Something's got to happen with that. But very cute little heartfelt story. I gave this 4 stars. And then we have House of Glass by Sarah Pekkanen. This is another 4-star read for me for the month of August. I really did enjoy this. I listened to it on audio. I couldn't put it away. I really enjoyed the narration of this story. I haven't wrote a review on this yet, and that's usually what I go by when I do these videos, my review, so I'm trying to remember. But we have a young girl, 9 years old, named Rose, and her nanny just died. And we don't know if did she intentionally fall out the window? Was it an accident? Was it murder? You know, we don't know. In comes Stella. Stella is an attorney. It says she is a best interest attorney appointed to this case. So what she does is she goes into the lives of the young girl. So I don't think the young girl is being accused, but she was, I think, in the room when it happened. So like, this case is very fishy. So, and then we have a young child involved, and the parents are getting divorced. So Stella is in there. She has to get into the family, meet everybody, and see where it's best for Rose to go. Will she be better off with her mother or her father? And of course, we learn a few things about the father, and we also we learn a few things about the father's mother, who is also living with them in this house. There's also this fascination with glass, because Rose likes to collect these sharp objects, and in order to keep her away from these sharp objects, the parents have made their house into like plastic. Although they're turning the windows into like plexiglass, and all their cups and plates and stuff are plasticky material, so Rose doesn't get into anything. They don't know if she wants to harm herself, if she wants to harm anybody else. She has gone mute due to the trauma of her nanny's death, so she's not talking. That there's also a backstory with Stella there, and why Stella was brought in for this particular case as well. So yeah, so we have Rose's story, and then we have Stella's story as well. There's not really a timeline. We just kind of get Stella going back and telling us about certain events in her past, and what happened to her mother, and how her father wasn't there, and how there's this other male character, Charlie, who kind of took her under his wing. So we learn a little bit about him as well. It was just a very good story, well written out, and all the characters had a certain complexity to each of them, especially little Rose. Like in the beginning, I was just like, oh, she's scary. I don't know if I like her. I feel like she killed her nanny. I don't know. But you'll learn more about that, of course, if you read the book. Very good read. And that is it, y'all. Perfect timing. My battery is dying. Thank y'all so much always for watching. Hope you're all doing well out there. Let me know in the comments what were some of your favorite reads for the month of August. Any 5 stars out there, let me know in the comments down below. And I will see y'all very, very soon in another video. Bye, y'all.